Welcome back to New York City. We're here live in the Madison Square Garden Theater for ESL New York 2015. It's been an incredible event so far, and we're not even halfway done yet. We've still got so much amazing Dota to get through, and I have to say, gentlemen, this venue has lived up to the hype. It's my first time here, and it's been incredible. We've had an electric crowd, and it's made these great games of Dota that much better.
I've had a great time, man. The games are great. It's fun watching the metagame develop, since this is the first major tournament on 6.85. Not that different from the previous patch, but we're seeing a lot of the same picks, but a couple thrown in there, a lot of item changes, a lot of builds are different. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, and you know what? No matter what heroes we're talking about, no matter what meta we're talking about, there's no substitute for just good old-fashioned high-level play. I mean, I am grinning ear to ear. I mean, Toby and I, we're the old men, baby. We're sharing the room. We're in bed by 10 o'clock.
I didn't know you and Toby were the same age. I had no idea.
Shut up. I may be a little bit older. No, but I just love seeing classic IG again, and that was classic Chuan in that last game.
Yep. Definitely his hero, but I would still like to go back to the, you were saying you see a lot of old meta. Like, I think Alchemist and Dazzle were the classic opposite, where you see Radiance on an Alchemist and you see a Dazzle combo that worked out really well. So I think this is one of the first matches where we can see a new kind of meta starting potentially.
But it was like half of old ones. You're like Dazzle, Gyrocopter, and then you're like, oh, we'll just throw somebody in the middle that has huge regen, really just lacking armor and HP, which Dazzle fills. And then he survives that burst and heals back up to full.
But I think that's the way forward, though, right? I mean, yeah. That's what the beautiful thing about 6.85 is, that 6.84 was a great version, and you had a rather incremental patch, and I think the real winning innovations are going to be just new twists on the old formulas.
Yeah, take half of what worked and then throw in a couple new item builds and some differences, and look at that. Man, we see an Alchemist ban in the first round.
Oh my god.
Okay, change is upon us.
The meta's here.
Wow, I actually can't believe they did it. I probably would, though, after facing Ferrari's Alchemist in that last game.
You basically, the only way to beat it, in my opinion, is you have to prevent him from getting a bounty rune. If you prevent him from getting a bounty rune, and then you have the right picks, then yeah, he's going to have a rough time. Like the first 500 gold, that can't be understated. 500 extra gold at the start of the game is ridiculous. He didn't get last hits for the first like 2 waves.
I think they could have done a little bit better in lane, though. They really didn't give Queen of Pain much help, and you don't think of Queen of Pain as a hero that needs much help in the laning phase, but she's also a hero that benefits a lot from early aggressive supports, and they never were really able to let her get aggressive against that Alchemist in the lane.
Yeah, Lesh was busy top. He still had a great time, though. Like, Lil played awesome. He was 4-0 and 4 on a support Leshrac. He had a Rod of Atos. He had the Ultimate Orb and the Void Stone. He was close to a Hex on a support. Like, he definitely did not lose his team that game there. It was basically just came down to rotations. IG out-rotated them. They out-team fought them. And then they were too far behind with Chaos Knight to win it. So maybe it wasn't a mistake, but Alk was too hard to pressure once he got the bottle, the regen, and the Stout Shield.
What are you expecting as a first pick here?
I have no idea, man. What do you?
I think you can still. I think you can still go Queen of Pain if you're VP. I don't think G had a bad game at all.
That's why
I think that if they had a better rotation, I agree 100% with what you said. I think if they had a better rotation in terms of a better game plan in terms of their early rotations, that lane goes very, very differently.
Yeah, maybe they could have shifted over the Leshrac. It's a possibility, but I mean, you can't let Tusk pressure Chaos Knight. That's too scary as well. Tusk plus any other hero rotating the lane, that's a dead carry. So they zoned Tusk. Tusk didn't really have a huge farm impact that game. He maybe seemed underfarmed compared to the other performance out of IG. So I feel like they played their safe lane right. It was just they didn't predict the rotation. So I don't know.
I would expect here, I think I would expect the Shadow Fiend potentially on the side of VP. I think it's a solid mid hero on the Radiant side and is also one of G's best heroes.
It's a comfort pick, no doubt.
It is a comfort pick. I'm always and IG is going to pick it up for Ferrari, and of course, I mean, Ferrari Shadow Fiend needs no introduction. Certainly one of the top players.
But that's on Dire. Look, if you look at Evange's face right now, I have a feeling that it's a taken away pick here.
Yeah, exactly.
Radiant Shadow Fiend is just, it's a common pick. Yep. And G for sure plays that hero really good. They play very well around it, and now you have to think of potential counters, and there we see the Queen of Pain.
It's also a good fighter in the early game too. If IG plays the same game as they did before, they grouped up and they roamed early, and if SF has a mech, he's a huge threat. as long as he doesn't get initiated on out of position, you're talking about at least like 750 magic damage from raises, plus you have to worry about his ultimate, and his team can back him up and keep him alive, and they're coupling it with an Undying. It's really scary early game fight coming out of IG.
This is a really potent opener from IG, and this is the second time this tournament now we've seen a second pick Spirit Breaker. Earlier it was a bit of a disaster. It was in game 2 of the Fnatic versus Secret series, and that was the Darkseer Spirit Breaker opener from Fnatic. A much different scenario, but how do you feel about Spirit Breaker right now, Purge? Do you think he warrants this kind of early pickup?
Well, he got played earlier today by Fnatic. They did a dual offlane with Darkseer Spirit Breaker, and I felt like that was a good option to do because you can pressure really hard with that with Ion Shell and Bash. The downside was there against a solo Nyx, who's pretty hard to kill. So I feel like he has potential here even as a support, but you have to have him in the right lanes. You have to put him in a position where he can get kills on Rubik's or other weak supports that have low survivability. And if that's the case, Spirit Breaker can do really well. But if he doesn't get a lot of kills early, he just kind of sucks.
I still think a huge part of the value of the Spirit Breaker is you take him without locking him into a role. I hated the first phase Darkseer and Spirit Breaker almost locking the Spirit Breaker into the 4 position.
Right.
I think both Luo and Chuan have had success with this.
Speak of the devil, Nahaz.
I think it's very different though. Second phase Darkseer.
I think the opening here of VP is actually quite good for the mid matchup. I think that Shadowfiend is going to be very pressured.
Wyvern isn't bad,
because you have a Darkseer that's going to be on the offlane. He will pressure a lot, and then you have a Shadowfiend on the Dire side, which is really not that great. And Queen of Pain will pressure Shadowfiend a lot. If there's a charge incoming, you will have to watch out that you actually get some protection for the Shadowfiend in the mid lane, else it can snowball really hard.
I like the strat by IG.
Now I want to ask if you guys agree with Hani's assessment about the Dire Shadowfiend. Do you think it's really that big of a difference, or is it just a minor advantage that IG could play through?
It's a pretty big difference. For a couple reasons. First of all, the distance between the mid lane to the large camp to stack is a little bit higher. You can also stack the medium camp. You can just fall back to the medium camp and kill it. If you get like small satyrs or something like that, that's like a raise and a couple right clicks, and boom, you have an extra 2 souls. So it's got catch-up potential. Your supports can stack there easier, and they're also right next to you. Just think of like if a support stacks and then pulls it, you're already like at least 600 units closer to the mid lane. So you protect him more, you get the stacks off, and you're a lot safer doing the Radiant large camp, in my opinion. Like if somebody ganks SF there, they have to run through that little tree clump instead of having like giant paths that they can go 2 different ways to get back to safety.
Oh, it's also
a lot of reasons.
It's also just the Radiant mid lane is just so much safer.
Yeah, I mean, you can gank it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think Shadowfiend is often a hero that we see get focused down early, especially since he's putting up those big farm numbers. I think it takes a lot of the pressure off the Shadowfiend playing Radiant.
Well, we're starting to see more of this Invictus Gaming strategy come to light here. Witch Doctor and Undying, 2 heroes that love to fight early on, and they are definitely going to be looking to pick some mid-game skirmishes.
No, I mean this is the build that Ferrari really perfected. I mean Mushi gets a lot of credit for pioneering mech on Shadowfiend, but Ferrari's the one that really perfected the build, perfected the timings. He gets more value out of that item, I think, on Shadowfiend than any other player.
So the build that I've seen him go in the past is like Treads, Mech, Aquila, then he gets a BKB, then maybe like a Scotty or a Butterfly, depending on how the game's going.
It's good progression.
Maybe it's a little limited this game because of Quap. Does pure damage.
Oh, there's the Wyvern. I knew we were going to see this from FNG, and you know what? This combo, the Darkseer and the Wyvern, was a little bit overrated, I feel, in the last patch. It was actually under 500, but VP plays it so well. They have gotten perfect spell combos off.
Yep, you see the synergy.
I'm still actually interested on the last pick of what Illidan is going to play, because I don't think it offers you that much damage yet. They have a lot of, like, the wombo combo works, but it's actually not that much damage.
So this is Core Undying. Interesting.
Is this the Axe build? The new Axe change, if you guys missed it, if he grabs it, it will now decay for 10 strength instead of 4 per hero. So it's a huge amount of survivability. I think it's good if Undying gets ahead. He has a rough game.
I think it can be really hard because Undying is not a fast farming hero, and the big problem is if you rush an Ags on that hero now, you have just such a big target painted on your back.
But if they do pick those early fights and they win those fights, then he can really take over. Hani, you seem to have you're chuckling here.
Do it, baby.
I honestly think that Axe on Undying is just one of those Axe, hey, we're going to change it, and now you get 10 strength for your decay. Let's try and make it work. It's not going to happen. I just don't think it's...
You don't think it's good?
I just don't think it's an Axe upgrade there's like a lot of items that you would get before you get an Axe on Undying.
That's kind of the problem that I've seen with Ags Undying, is that you almost, it's so cool, but you almost need another item to get good value out of it because you get focused so hard.
Or you get silenced and you don't even have a chance to use.
Well, the only silence, there's weak disables coming out of VP. Like pre-6, their team fight is really awful in my opinion. Like they've got Iron Shell, they've got Winners, they can slow people with Arctic Burn, Spirit Breaker can charge and bash, but like they don't have very good lockdown.
Okay, but guys, we got to go back to what Illidan's hero is going to be, because I think that's going to define this draft. I mean, can you Slark here? I don't think you can.
I thought of Slark as well, because it's just one of those, hey, we're at LAN, and Slark seems to...
He's so frightening on that hero, but I feel like IG has just so many tools to deal with it.
Shadow Fiend's alright versus it, does damage. Bane is iffy. It all comes down on the initiation. Maybe he'll sleep him and grip, maybe he'll grip, maybe he'll Dark Pact it. I feel like Slark's maybe... I feel like they need something early game, honestly. Like, yeah, they can pressure the lanes with Iron Shell and Spirit Breaker charges and stuff, but if there's early fights, if IG is up...
Okay.
Like,
well, there's a team fight right there.
Could have actually thought of it. It's a lot of damage for them.
It's a huge amount of damage, but this is... you know, it's not been an Illidan hero for quite some time. He's had some games on it in the past.
No. I want to throw this out there. Aghanim's Luna. It did get buffed in the last patch.
It's one of those things, on paper, the damage output can just be insane. Yeah. But I just don't know that anybody's played it enough.
Does it hit zombies, is the question.
Yeah.
If it hits zombies, it's awful.
That's a really good question.
I don't think it would, because zombies pretty much have no interaction with most spells now.
The cast hits it.
And there's the Slardar.
And there's the Slardar. Yeah, I like this draft from IG so much.
Me too. As soon as Slardar gets his Blink Dagger, he can just... I don't know if he's gonna...
Man, this is actually going to be so sick.
He'll just get a fast Blink Dagger, he'll TP to the safe lane, he'll just kill Luna. Like, Luna's like Jaro, just super vulnerable to that first Blink Dagger. That first Blink Dagger gank, if you don't anticipate it and counter it, you just like lose the whole game, because then Slardar has like big advantage.
I actually have
gank the jungle.
Nahas is getting nerd chills, guys. Watch out.
So easily. Like, it's really scary. Yeah. I think.
I just think that if you watch the way that these two teams have played recently, these lineups play so much to the strength of both squads, and I think you're just going to see so many decisive mid-game engagements. This is the kind of game, you know, we're not going to see a Farm Fest, boys.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you've got... Yeah, I want predictions here. So it sounds like these two are on the side of IG. What are you thinking, Honey?
I think it goes with a mid matchup, so I'm just going to go with VP. Okay. I think they have a pretty good chance here.
You think the Quap's just going to dominate that mid lane?
Yeah.
Huh? I've got faith in the Luna. I want to hope that this could be the first Ags Luna on this patch. Maybe wishful thinking, but fingers crossed, boys. We'll see what happens. With that, we're going to hand it over to our casters, folks. Game number 2 of Invictus Gaming versus Virtus.Pro getting underway.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'm Toby1 here with Blitz as we come into game number 2 of this best of 3 VP up against Invictus Gaming. It seems like some of the analysts have changed their mind on who's going to win this series.
They're flip-flopping, but we don't do that. We're holding strong. Yes. You're going to go with your original IG prediction?
I am actually, I have a small thing to admit. I've been a Ferrari fan since before Dota 2 was born. He has been one of the guys I've looked to for that mid-excitement so many times, and I'm just really happy to see IG hitting a point where they're strong again, and I kind of want them to stay there and not, in your words, flip-flop, back down again. Like, I'm not looking for a thong. Like, just give me a good game.
30 seconds.
Yeah, I think that VP, I mean, both lineups rely heavily on snowballing. I think, like Kevin said, Rabbit, if he gets a quick Blink Dagger, you can really just go around the map and make life absolute hell for this Queen of Pain or this Luna pick, but they've got a lot of different heroes that can back them up. You've got a combination that's pretty well known nowadays. It's the Darkseer plus the Spirit Breaker. You can send the Spirit Breaker in with the Ion Shell. It makes playing support really difficult when you're behind. When you've just got a Space Cow coming at you with like 1200 HP and an Ion Shell and he's surged up.
Especially when you got no vision. Like, if you had vision, at least maybe you can Nightmare, maybe you can Paralyze and Cast. When he comes out of the trees with all of that, it's not a fun time, you're right.
Yeah, and even with everything that's happened, I think that FNG is the strongest when he's playing this aggressive style with the Bounty Hunter / Spirit Breaker type heroes, where he's able to just trade hits, get aggressive, and just kind of create space around the map. Obviously, we didn't really see it work out last game, but I think that was just because IG were really on top of their game when it comes to wording.
Yeah. They were really awesome. Let's see how game number 2 goes, as we have already kicked off into our laning phase, and Ferrari is trying to have a little bit of help here by Chuan. They've already got the high ground wards from both Radiant as well as Dire, so this should be a fairly even battle of trade, at least. I'm actually wondering exactly, because Ferrari just seems to like to do this every single time on his SF build, where he just goes for these early points up and raises, ensure the bottle, and then think about collecting the souls.
Yeah, this is pretty common. We saw Mushi do it earlier in the day too when he played the Shadow Fiend. It's playing against the Queen of Pain, it's incredibly hard to just go for that straight Wraith Band and assume that you can, even with the Sal Fairy to you, that you're going to have enough regen to be able to survive. So just going for the fast bottle kind of neutralizes the threat and makes it so that the SF can trade hits. And because of the fast bottle, you're just going to be able to Bottle Crow at least once or twice before the first rune appears. Meaning that you can just keep cycling through regen, and the Queen of Pain can't really do too much to contest you.
I want to keep my eyes very closely too on this off lane, because it is a core Undying. I know the boys were talking about the potential of an Aghanim Scepter Undying. Who knows, down the track maybe we might get it. But for now, I want to see just how much effect the Spirit Breaker has against him. There's no huge chance that you get it like 17, then 17, then 17 every single time, where it's just 100%. In this case, he actually gets the hit. But because the reworked that one, Lewis probably feeling a little bit more comfortable down here up against the Spirit Breaker, because he knows at least he shouldn't die.
Yeah, this is a lane that's going to be incredibly hard to kill him in, unless he just gets incredibly unlucky.
Yeah, if FNG was able to get the secondary stun, looks like a Nightmare on the top lane. Ferrari, the paralyzing cast won't bounce. The Nightmare switch, not perfect, but first blood will go the way of IG. They'll look for a little bit more, chasing after Phobos, but he's got that surge away to safety. But having God now dying, Ferrari being the man to get the first blood too. Who was the man that said it was going to come down to the mid lanes? I think it was Hani who was saying it comes down to the mid matchups, and he was favoring VP on that one.
Yeah, the Queen of Pain does historically pretty well against the Shadow Fiend, but with the help of the Witch Doctor, obviously things are going to get evened out. And now that the Shadow Fiend has a little bit of an advantage when it comes to net worth and being able to get that kill, he should be able to do just fine in this lane. G's still trying to play pretty aggressively to make things okay, but he's got to be careful because he can't really afford to lose this lane any harder, and he's still doing fine right now. Like, when it comes to net worth, he's behind by 500, but the experience is what matters to me in this matchup.
He was trying to prepare, I think. Yeah, FNG has been waiting for the past, like, maybe 20 seconds around that bottom rune area. Out of vision of Invictus Gaming, was about to charge into Ferrari, which might explain why God was trying to get a little bit more aggressive, like prep Ferrari for the attack. But Luo's already rotated over. Like, he's actually left bottom lane completely to come over and just watch over the SF, ensure that this early advantage isn't lost.
I think it's also just because of where the
top lane looks like Phobos, Nightmare, Chuan, prepping himself up. He's got the stun available. He's just keeping that restoration up. So Darkseid has Iron Shell. Okay, it's not going to do anything. Surges away in time, and well, he's making a break for that double stack, and that double stack will kill him off. So a denial going the way of Virtus.Pro. Looks like Queen of Pain is also copying a fair chunk of damage from Ferrari. But this keeps Darkseid off the top lane now. Yes, the kill doesn't happen, but it didn't seem like IG expended that much.
That was a pretty clutch deny because he had the sprint up and he was just about to stun, but at the last second, DK Phobos is like, okay, I have to go for this deny. Luckily for him too, there was a stack there, so he like instantly died before the Slithering Crush could come down, and G's just kind of chasing Ferrari out, making sure can't really contest, and he's even going to deny this top rune.
Oh, you got to be really careful about this. FNG's going to charge himself in. The Nightmare from King J. Just keeping God in position. Lil will take it off him, and it looks like IG did it. Yeah, they're not going to come down into the river to battle them. They'll let it go.
There's honestly no reason for them to. Just play back. G's still kind of having a rough time. Like, he still hasn't completed his bottle. He decided to go for the Magic Wand and the Null Talisman, which he previously had, because he knows that he can't really contest this early, and the bottle would have just came way too late if he went for it anyways.
Interesting to see, because I noticed too, the farm of Illidan is just through the roof. Like, he's sitting at 27 for 15, 4.5 minutes in. Like, this is a real great CS coming up from Illidan. But watching his build, like, he's not actually holding a point, and I thought maybe he'd actually leave like the like a 3-0-1, and then come over and farm up the stacks with high levels up in Glaives. But he seems to be bypassing that as opposed to like go to the second point up in Aura.
I mean, for the most part, the second level of the Aura just allows you to trade hits really well, and it guarantees that you get the last hit. Like, with
they're coming in. Ferrari going to get charged up. King J's here. The Nightmare nowhere near in time. And in fact, that allows FNG to come in a little bit closer. The paralyzing cast from Chorn's making life difficult. But the Nightmare, King J needs to actually protect himself. Can't do it. The Splitter Blast are flying in. There might be the Wyvern lost, but Rabbit with a big double stun. Chorn will get loose of B because now Illidan arrives in the fight as well. They've brought the whole kit and caboodle. Rabbit's on the run out of here. Charge is back off cooldown, but they need the vision over on Rabbit. God's blink forward. Now they get the vision, but is it too late? Well, it doesn't matter. Queen of Pain can reach him. God having that double damage rune really brought the physical damage when it was needed.
double damage plus Lunar Blessing. He was hitting for almost 200 a hit. Nobody can really contest that at that phase of the game, and VP just played that so well. Props to Illidan for recognizing that that was a fight that he could actually come in and take. It was on the high ground for IG, and he still recognizes that his contribution is going to be valuable, and that's what pushes that into an okay fight for VP. And all of a sudden, they're up 4-2. You wasted the time of the Slardar. You managed to kill him. You slow down the Blink Dagger even more, and more importantly than that, it makes it kind of okay for the Spirit Breaker, who was kind of struggling early on to find kills, but now he's
about to go for more. They're going to go for Undying. I think Luo realized he's got to stand and fight here because the Eclipse, it just gets let go, and Luo will be dropping on the bottom. If he ran away, the Eclipse 100% would have hit him every single time. But now he also gives the Tombstone Gold over to Illidan, and Illidan's now sitting at Treads, Ring of a Cool on a full match ball 6.5 minutes in.
That's what I was going to point out too. You just can't really afford to give up the Tombstone on top of that. Like, it does sound attractive, like, okay, I'll just lay this down and hopefully I'll survive. But at the same time...
Middle lane, Rabbit, there's your Nightmare sub to go into the crush. They need more stuns, and they can't do it. The blink away, they do have the amplification up, but God, he's so far back under the tower when FNG moving forward as well. IG, they know they just cannot dive in that deep.
They just rotated their carry too to try to kill a mid. Queen of Pain was really unsuccessful right there, and that was like a 4-hero rotation just to be able to help out the Shadow Fiend a little while he was farming the stacks. And the Shadow Fiend, who got first blood, is now fallen quite far behind. His farm is still okay, but his levels just don't look like where they want to be.
He needs to catch up somehow, but like, what tools does Ferrari have? Like, he's
farming the stack right now. Like, this is the right direction for him to follow. Like, just play pretty passively.
But the stack's not that big though.
It was like a 3-stack.
Okay.
It's something to work with right now. You just want to make sure that you don't just leave yourself in the middle lane for Spirit Breaker to come charge in. Illidan's clearly demonstrated that he's willing to TP in just for these mini skirmishes. So you want to try to avoid them if you're IG, because Queen of Pain, the mobility of that hero, on top of the fact that Lunar Blessing helps everyone out so much on the side of VP, you want to try to avoid those fights if possible.
I want to flag something too, which you were talking about a little bit earlier inside this game, is the fact that the warding game from IG was really, really good in the previous game. But I'm watching this right now, and they just don't have any money on these supports, or at least the money they do have, they're about to lose on the Bane. He's got 385 gold, try and Nightmare up gold, so he removes the damage. The Iron Shell's still going to tick through him, and you even get the 17% to hit in right there.
Yeah, they want to try to protect this ward, and so they're probably going to rotate in. It probably doesn't matter too much though, because even if they go for a sentry, all you do is delay it a little bit.
They're going bottom lane. They're after Luo once again. Lil was waiting inside the Roche Pit, but now with the Tombstone and the Soul Rip, they really take a lot of damage, and the heavy TP's coming in. Illidan's in a world of hurt. The Razors as well as Ferrari coming into the fight. No more supports being brought in from VP, but if Illidan gets out of here with no extra supports, no he won't. And the Nightmare, it allows them to pick up a Toothbuff. But Invictus Gaming brought the whole team to take out both the Lunar and the Wyvern.
I mean, well worth it, just being able to slow down the top net worth in the game. The Luna thought that she was going to be perfectly fine because obviously the Undying doesn't have any sort of disable, and the Luna just naturally runs really quickly, like 380 with just treads. Probably thought she was going to be okay, but with all those zombies hitting her, and they just had a lot of follow-up with that too, and she has to be a little bit more careful than that because, yeah, she's really far right now. Like, Aquila treads, you got to be careful though.
He came in really close right there, Lil. There's actually a charge coming in from FNG Chuan. He doesn't have mana, so you're not looking at any kind of paralyzing cast control.
Ferrari
can't do anything. He's trapped into the roof, but Rabbit will come in for the crush. The loser beam, the Bane actually taking the hit for him, so the Witch Doctor Chuan taking it for him, but it's still enough to keep Ferrari alive as another loser beam hits on Rabbit. He can't run himself away in time as he just goes directly into the Nether Strike. It is Slaughter all getting ripped apart, not only by the Spirit Breaker, but also by that Darkseer Iron Shell.
Honestly, the way that Illidan's playing this Luna reminds me of LGD times when Sylar would just like come in with the Luna in the mid lane just to make sure that they were able to secure the counter gank, and he's been there every single time, like in the major engagement so far. And although he had that unfortunate death at bottom, his ulti was able to turn everything around for them in that mid fight. And I'm really surprised that IG are still taking these fights just because they know at this point they're a little bit too far behind. Ferrari doesn't really have any major items. He only has the treads. You don't have a blink dagger on your slow dart either. There's no real way for you to kind of assemble, and they're even going to go for the smoke gank right now, and they have to get something out of this. They can't really afford to lose another fight. Illidan doesn't have the ultimate. That's one thing that's going in their favor. And VP probably doesn't expect this to happen right now.
But what are you going to kill again? Let you go for Illidan as well as Lil? You kill the same two guys again, you still got Phobos.
Yeah, we'll
getting
see
space and building into that mech, which you kind of need to slow up. But you're right, like, kill's a kill. and they need something at the moment.
Oh, VP senses this right now. They're bringing everybody down here right now, and
they just
running away.
Tombstone. They go underneath the tower. The minion actually dies before it gets behind the tree line, and now you actually cancel out that TP because FNG is showing himself inside the lane that this looks like a very big worm, and right now IG perfectly baited into the tree line, and actually Nether strikes back out again. King J's in real trouble. The Sword will keep him alive. The Darkseer wall will drop a Ferrari. He's still got no Requiem of Souls. They don't have the team fight control here, and when the Splinter Blast flying in, IG's taking so much damage. Ferrari losing Beam and Scream. He can't do anything. It's a double kill for God. They actually curse up Luo down inside the tree line, and that's where they're just bashing him down as deep as they can possibly go. There's 3 heroes that will be lost here for IG. A triple kill for God, and this will speed up not only the Orchid, but the momentum of all of Virtus.Pro.
Yeah, and again, this is IG just going to take a fight without any of those core items. They just kind of went for the YOLO play, go for the smoke, try to stop the bleeding, but VP kind of just game sensed it out, kind of realized, okay, nobody from IG showing, they're quite far behind. It's not like they're just going to go for the team jungle.
Yep.
They're probably getting aggressive on us. G correctly TPs to that bottom tier 2, and I mean, if you saw what FNG did, he just baited them deeper and deeper.
I can't believe IG went for that. Like, why did IG even go for that?
They were probably just like, we have to get something out of this. Decided, it was like, okay, well, we'll just go for the commitment. But it wasn't even like they had the level, the Requiem of Souls on the Shadow Fiend either.
No.
Like, they had none of these teamfight abilities. They didn't have any farm. Like, Ferrari's down to 10 souls right now.
Yeah. This is the worst situation that IG could think of. You need some kind of recovery mechanism for your SF, and right now there's only 1 stack sitting inside that jungle. Ferrari needs time and space. They need to, however, also get the same for the Undying. He needs to be able to finish up that mech so these team fights are even possible for them. And the Blink Dagger is nowhere near for Rabbit. In fact, Rabbit's just having to have this Bracer as well as full Wand and Tread so he can survive during the fights and still be there. And so there's no initiation for IG.
Yeah, that's actually perfectly well put. When Purge was trying to analyze earlier, he was like, okay, if Rabbit actually gets the Blink Dagger, you know, they can actually create a lot of chaos, and that was a really good point to make. But at the same time, we were both under the assumption that, you know, the Slardar will get a lot of farm, but he wasn't able to keep up with the Luna, and they kept rotating Rabbit in for these engagements. None of them were successful. And on the flip side of things, Illidan playing the Luna comes in time and time again, provides 1 or 2 beams, the Solar Blessing, or the Lunar Blessing just for G to hit a little bit harder. Completely turns things around for his team time and time again.
I'm watching now IG, they're trying to play the bait game. They're keeping Rabbit just out of the field of vision of Luo and trying to hope that God will jump him. And now they've lost track of God, so they just accept their fate. That this bait has not worked and Rabbit needs to get back to the farming. While on bottom lane, Phobos adds so much pressure. And what's King J meant to do against this? This guy's not even level 6 yet. There's no Fiend's Grip. And even if he does get Fiend's Grip, there's so many things which are already high level to stop him. So he'll never get a full channel off. Now, Luo and Rabbit, they have to take damage. The Tombstone will be dropped as God. Well, they do have the amplification on him, but they've got no way they can get a stun. So the Tombstone is blowing. You get 1 TP to top lane from VP, but IG burn 2.
Yeah, and this is just VP continuing to outmaneuver IG around the map. IG, they still have a way to get back into this game. It's the Rabbit Blink Dagger. If you get a mech and a BKB on Ferrari, you can probably still take fights, but when it comes to net worth and levels, they've fallen quite far behind right now. Like, their 2 supports are incredibly underleveled, incredibly underfarmed. We're not seeing the impact that we saw from Chuan in Game 1. Like, that was my Game 1 MVP. Chuan playing the Rubik, just being able to create chaos on all the fights. You can't really do that with the Witch Doctor when you're this underfarmed. It's not like the Rubik where you can, you know, steal a few clutch abilities. You need levels on this Witch Doctor to be able to do anything. He doesn't even have the maxed out cast yet, just because of how underleveled he is. And the Death Ward is nice, but at the same time, everybody from VP is getting so farmed.
Yeah, the Death Ward is just going to do no damage whatsoever. And it almost looks like IG is trying to repair that problem as well, like the amount of damage they're taking. You're talking about the potential mech. Like, Ferrari has bought the headdress and finished up the buckler now. It's coming out in the courier. But I'm also seeing the Undying walking around with a headdress. Ferrari's about to die, so he'll be very happy to spend his money. Unless the rest of IG can get there in time. Where's that Soul Rip? Luo took too long to get there. Now he drops the Tombstone. Rabbit being cursed up. The Nightmare will buy him a little bit of space, but he's still taking so much damage. The Soul Rip to keep him alive. Phobos being controlled. It's the Death Ward plus the Fiend's Grip, and in comes God. He needs that hit on Rabbit. He's got it. It's a double kill coming in as FNG diving into the tower. Sean will be back into his own death under the hits of Luna, and this just looks like a complete stop. VP 17-5. God, he's not going to dive under the tier 3 tower for this, as VP just took a flawless team fight.
Yeah, they opened up on the Shadow Fiend, who has nothing. Nobody from IG can really back him up, and as weird as it sounds, that's not even terrible of a fight for IG the way it started. They were able to get like a 3-second Beans grip off. The Witch Doctor ultimate hit for so long. VP just didn't really care. They were just like, okay, we're still so far enough.
Well, they took
fight.
Ferrari out before the fight even really began. Like that Fiend's Grip and Death Ward started after Ferrari was practically dead.
Yeah, and I mean, this game is just kind of, if it hasn't before, it is completely snowballed, out of control right now. And looking at this mid-fight, being able to kill the Shadow Fiend was great, but at the same time, why does IG continue to commit?
I don't know. Like, Rabbit was in so deep, and you could see King J, like, he tried to save him. He's like, okay, Rabbit's in trouble, so they use Nightmare to try and break him free of the curse area, or at least the time for it, and then they Soul Rip him to try and keep him alive. When their Soul Rip was meant to try and actually come down and keep Ferrari alive, but you couldn't get the Undying in position in time. Lure was too far back.
Yeah, there was actually no way that you were going to save the Shadow Fiend there. Like, he was going to get bursted down. He has no heal mechanisms, no mech or anything.
So you got to cut your losses.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Rabbit kind of ran forward like, oh, I got you, and no, you're just going to die with him. And at that point,
here they go again. This time, though, Lure's going to be there. He gets bounced back by FNG. Rabbit able to get the amplification off with the Tombstone and Decay. Lure brings his life back up with the Soul Rip FNG. He just keeps going after that Slaughter, proving the cows are stronger than fishes. Right now, Spirit Breaker wants to go in even deeper, and where they do it, it's a mini stun. It's a loser beam into Ferrari, bounces back on Sean. The paralyzing cast might have been thrown out, but the curse it keeps Ferrari in position, so they can't really do much with it. The Fiend Strip is there on Phobos, but another loser beam, and God, he's waiting for the perfect opportunity. Blinks forward with the Orca. King J is dead just from the pop of that. There's still no Sonic Wave, but it doesn't matter. Ferrari's Requiem of Souls. It's like throwing kittens right now at Virtus.Pro. They just keep beating the back. Illidan might be low because of the Death Ward, but he's to the trees, and IG, they're chasing after one kill. Can they claim one? Rabbit's back with that sprint, but it's level 2. He's just not fast enough to keep up with the Luna, and she's just able to outrun Ghost in the Eclipse, and actually wants to go for the solo kill, pulling out the high ground advantage. Illidan, like, he knew Rabbit had no idea what he was running into, and just basically dropped the entire skyline on him.
All right, now, I mean, Illidan at this point is just showing off. Like, one crush, he dies there, but he decides to time it perfectly, doesn't allow him to do anything, even animation cancels the stun using the Lucent Beam, times that perfectly. I mean, this guy, I mean, it might be G getting all the kills, but it's Illidan's rotations and his individual play that's really broken IG's back.
That he still managed to find 5 of them. Like, even if God does have 10 for 1, you have a 5 for 1 Luna who's about to farm up even more, starting up in the Ancients, and that Manta Style is very, very close. Once he's finished up these Ancients, he'll actually have his Manta Style done.
All right, so what do you do here? IG, you're so far behind, you don't have any core items.
You start thinking about game 3?
Maybe this is the time to strategize around that, just because every single time they fought, Ferrari hasn't had full souls. He's had like 30 souls or like 28 or something like that.
You're right, like, where's the damage coming? You got Ferrari who's built into this early mech. Now, it's the standard build which he always does for his SF, where you got the Quilla, Trez, Bottle, as well as mech. There's nothing unusual about this at all. And I almost feel like IG looked at this game and thought, let's weather the storm. Like, Luo did pick up this headdress, which I can only assume was him looking at all the magical damage from VP and going, pipe? Or something like that. Or there was miscommunication somewhere down the lines where Undying just said, or maybe you just said, I can't get enough money to finish the mech. We need the mech now. Ferrari, you have to do this for us.
This is the last-ditch effort from IG. If you look at their item builds...
And it's going to be completely blown by FNG. He walks in and breaks the smoke on Ferrari and King J. They've just got no, there's just no space for IG, and what are they supposed to do? FNG charges in, Lua's being beaten around, and the Undying Tombstone, this time he's in a really good position for it. They get the curse over on Rabbit. Ferrari pumping in the damage to Illidan, but where is the more damage? It doesn't exist, no, with the Mana Style, the Glaives are bouncing around. It's a triple kill for God, and there it is. It won't even be 20 minutes on the clock, and Invictus Gaming will get crushed by Virtus.Pro after what looked like such a stable, safe game for IG. It's like we had a completely different IG here in Game 2.
Honestly, VP just outmaneuvered them, out-rotated them. They gave Illidan a hero that I think he could make a little bit more plays with, and that was just clinical. That's the VP that you want to see, the ones that are able to just out-team fight you, constantly be the people starting the fight or being the aggressor. And I mean, Rabbit just was never able to get that Blink Dagger, a 1-6-1 performance for him. I mean, it sucks to see just because you think to yourself, okay, if IG just had the Blink Dagger on him, maybe they can finally start a fight that ends up reasonably okay, but every single time it was VP that opened up with that Spirit Breaker with Ion Shell on it.
How much that Luna worked, like you were saying, like it wasn't just the rotations. Like I know Luna got a little bit more strength buffed, and maybe that gave the confidence to Illidan to keep coming in every single fight and say, you know what? I'm not as fragile as I used to be. I can get in there. I can be involved in these engagements.
Oh, it was absolutely massive. When he makes that first mid-rotation, they're able to get 3 kills, including the Shadow Fiend. And at that point, the Shadow Fiend had just gotten first blood. That was a really good way to stop Ferrari's momentum. And then he does it again when he comes in mid, drops the Eclipse on everybody, completely turns that fight around. And it was just his constant rotations that made that okay.
All right, before we do the analyst job for them, let's throw it back over to them to see what they thought about game number 2.
Thank you very much, Toby. Wow, what a game 2 of Virtus.Pro versus IG. That is the Virtus.Pro that we wanted to see when we came into this series. I mean, talk about crisp execution. That Queen of Pain had an Orchid and Treads at 15 minutes and a godlike streak, no less.
I mean, I was a little bit concerned because in that first game, we didn't get to see a G Queen of Pain. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we just saw one. That was an amazing performance. And you know, we forget, I mean, Illidan now 30-17 in his career on Luna. The hero has just recently returned to the meta, but he's got some experience on her, and it showed in that match.
And I don't even think it was just the cores that did really well. I really want to give a shout out to Lil that game. I feel like he plays Winter Wyvern how you should be playing Winter Wyvern. He's not just a hero that should sit in the mid lane the first minute and throw 2 Arctic Burns. What you should do is get level 2, level 3, and then you just show up and gank. You throw Splinter Blast, it does burst damage, and then you Arctic Burn, and you've got 2 slows, and your team follows up. That first time that Shadow Fiend died was incredible. It was like the 6-minute mark or something like that. He got babysat so hard by all the supports, and all of a sudden that gank came and boom, he died. It was like everything they worked for was wasted. Now they had a Bane that was level 1 at 5 minutes. Like Undyne left his lane, so Luna wasn't pressured, so Luna got more farm, and then Luna could participate in team fights. It's like everything IG built up was crushed by that one gank, and then it became gank after gank after gank.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that on the panel as the game went on, and this is what you're seeing right here at 5 minutes. Look how quickly Ferrari dies here. This is one of the rare examples. I feel like Winter Wyvern is played sometimes more correctly in pubs as an aggressive hero.
Yeah, look at that. He had 2 Splinter Blasts in that fight. It's a really high damage nuke, even for only 2 skill points, and it resulted in that triple kill, and then they even chased Rabbit down. So, really good fight from them here.
Another fight, and look at, if we see that ultimate there of the Spirit Breaker, the way he dodged that stun on Slaughter,
that was really clever. Very impressive. And this fight right here, we're at the 11-minute mark. This is 5-on-5 bottom lane. I mean, this was, I think, the bloodiest game we've seen in terms of kills per minute so far.
And it's VP. I mean, there's a reason that these guys put up the ridiculous kill totals almost every patch, every match. And this is the style of Dota that this team plays when they win. And man, oh man, did they bring it.
Yeah. One of the really big things in that fight even was against Splinter Blast. He got 2 Splinter Blasts off. It's a 7-second cooldown. It hit 3 heroes. That's huge damage output. That's like getting an AoE Finger of Death with just a couple skill points. And it kills creeps, which means that when Eclipse finally comes through, it's only hitting heroes. It's just, those 2 heroes are very synergistic together.
I mean, I was mentioning before this, or like with the draft when it started, that it's very centric around the mid lane. That's what I thought was going to happen. And I think IG reacted pretty good until minute 5, until that fight happened around the Shadow Fiend on protecting him. They started off with a dual lane middle against the Queen of Pain. They had a lot of respect for him there, and I thought it was the right decision to do, but essentially God just got to the best of his hero.
Yeah. And it seemed like IG felt almost pressured to take those fights. There was that point, was it maybe 7 minutes in, right around that fight that we saw where they rotated all 5 heroes down bottom. They only got 2 kills out of it, the Luna and I think maybe the Winter Wyvern. But when they're all 5 clumped up that early, like you mentioned, it's not just the Winter Wyvern. That entire team had so much AoE damage. Even just the nature of Luna's glaives bouncing around. It seemed like they just didn't have the team to quite take those 5-on-5 skirmishes so early on.
Yeah, I mean, the difference is just simply that VP had the right lineup composition. They got all the heroes online at the right time, and all of a sudden, you know, it wasn't the CK that you're fighting with, where you're just so worried about falling behind. Illidan, I mean, yes, Luna classically is the hard carry. Illidan, as he does with so many heroes in Dota, just turns conventional wisdom on his head, said, no, I'm just going to force action all over the map. Here's your carry, I'll farm your heroes.
Yep. And that's like what I like to see a lot on Luna is not that you can farm up, but you're actually there. You use your ultimate. It's very important on that kind of hero. Often, yes, if you have a good game and you're winning already, it's not important that you're stepping up as a carry, but in that game, essentially, Illidan did a huge part of that win.
Yeah, it turned from a game that could be brought back to being the biggest stomp we've seen yet today. It was absolutely one-sided after the 10-minute mark in a very early GG, 19 minutes. They didn't even wait for a Rax, but what's the point when you're behind by 25 kills and you don't have any items at all, and they counter your heroes a lot?
So where does that put us going into Game 3? We're all tied up 1-1. Obviously, Game 2 was a much more convincing win for Virtus.Pro. Do you think that was kind of a draft issue, just one of those drafts where once they get out of control, they can really maintain that big lead? Do you think Game 3 is likely to be a little more even, Purge?
I'm going to stop flip-flopping finally, and I'm going to stick to... Oh, wait, no, I'm flip-flopping again. I'm going to go back to VP. They played great. Splinter Blast was amazing. I love Winter Wyvern. They just outplayed their opponents that game. They really just outplayed them. That's really what it comes down to.
Okay, well, with that, folks, we need to go into another break, and then the ace match of Invictus Gaming versus Virtus.Pro. Somebody's going home after this next game. Stick around to find out who it is.